खत्म कर। ओके, थैंक यू। इसका क्या है, ये जो डैश डैश जो सिर्फ है। ओके, हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू द फर्स्ट live session of this massive open online course on science, technology, and society. As you know, this is a massive open online course that spans from July 2023 to October 2023. This has been designed and offered since 2017 under the auspices of the National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning. In this course, what we have already done that I'm going to look at, and what we are going to do also I'll look at in a nutshell. Okay, very quickly, if you look at the way the course has been designed, if you look at philosophy prior to the 19th century was divided into two parts. One, natural philosophy, and the other, moral philosophy. Natural philosophy is nothing but science in the present sense of the term. In fact, as you all know, the term science was coined by William Whewell in the 19th century. Prior to this, science was known as natural philosophy. And moral philosophy is nothing but ethics today. And natural philosophers, or scientists in the present sense of the term, are engaged in epistemological questions. As you all know, epistemology is nothing but a body or theory of knowledge. Precisely because of the central philosophical questions that epistemology attempts to address. And these central philosophical questions include what is knowledge, how is knowledge generated, what counts as knowledge, and so on. And ethics is known as a study of nature of conduct, precisely because of the central philosophical questions that ethics addresses. And these questions include what is good, what is bad. The proponents of epistemology, or natural philosophers, or scientists in the present sense of the term, perhaps for a pretty long period of time, they didn't address the questions of questions like the forms of knowledge that we have produced, whether they are evenly distributed in our economy, culture, and polity or not. For example, if we have produced medicines, whether everybody has an access to it or not. That's why questions of inclusion, access, democracy, they came under the purview of the scholars of ethics or moral philosophers. And when I tend to integrate epistemology with ethics, I tend to arrive at modern philosophy of science. And I started with this, that if I have to understand science, technology, and society, I must understand this historical significance of each term. As we have already discussed, how technology is the medium through which human beings have been interacting with nature, and how I'm taking a more political economy, historical sociology, philosophical anthropology approach to situate technology as the medium through which human beings have been interacting with nature. When I do this, you will find that technology predates modern science. Science, when I say science may be an inquiry, science may be a method, science may be an institution, science may be an ideology, and so on. When I say science is an inquiry into the nature and limits of a particular knowledge. When I say nature of a particular knowledge, as you all know, that subject matter of a particular knowledge, or scope and ambit of a particular knowledge. But when I say limits of a particular knowledge. By limits, I do not mean limitations. By limits, I mean under what limiting conditions science is practiced or pursued. Okay. That's why I tend to question the atemporality, universality, invariance, and historical characteristics attributed to science. Science must be historically integrated. Science must be culturally embedded. Technology is often politically, militarily manipulated, and so on. Okay. And we have discussed how there is a linear or hierarchical relationship between science, technology, and society. People very often say that no, science leads to the development of technology, and technology in turn leads to the development of our economy, our culture, our polity, and so on. And when you look at these parameters and then move on to another model called the interactionist model. The interactionist model suggests that no, science leads to the development of technology, technology leads to the development of society. That is fine. But in turn, society also determines what kind of science and technology we are going to have. Okay, in this sense, there is a two-way relationship between science, technology, and society. On the contrary, I mean, there is a difference between the linear or hierarchical model on the one hand and the interactionist model on the other. The linear or hierarchical model suggests that there is a one-way relationship between science, technology, and society. And the interactionist model suggests that no, there is a two-way relationship between science, technology, and society. On the contrary, the embedded model suggests that no, please don't think that way. Both linear model as well as the interactionist model treat science, technology, and society as separate entities. Rather, what we believe in the fact that both science and technology are part of society, part of our economy, part of our culture, part of our polity, and so on. Okay, science and technology must be critically embedded in our social firmness. Okay, and that's how we have come to the question that what is that makes science very unique? No, the method that science deploys makes it unique. Okay, that's how we have started discussing the methods of science. We'll further go on and discussing in detail a variety of methods of scientific investigation. The question, the method of science is as old as science itself. The famous Aristotelian question that what is the method of science, or what may be the possible methods of science, elicited two rival responses from the 17th century to the 19th century. In these 300 years from the 17th century to the 19th century, what are these two rival methods that we tend to witness? Now, one is inductivism and the other hypothesism. In sociology and related disciplines, we use the terms like empiricism and rationalism. Inductivism is based on empiricism. Empiricism is based on experience. On the contrary, hypothesism is based on rationalism, and rationalism is based on reason. Inductivism was founded by Francis Bacon, and hypothesism or rationalism was founded by René Descartes. That's why these two models of scientific method, namely inductivist and rationalist, they are alternatively known as the Baconian model of scientific method and Cartesian model of scientific method, respectively. Okay. For inductivists, science begins with observations, remains at the level of observations, and ends with observations. Why? No, because inductivists suggested that no, seeing is believing. Whatever I can see, I must believe in that. Whatever I cannot see, I must not believe in that. Right? Inductivists looked at looked at certainty and breadth as the hallmarks of scientific knowledge. In other words, science must be definite. Science must make broader level of observations to arrive at concrete generalizations. On the contrary, rationalists suggested that no, the hallmarks of scientific knowledge must be novelty and depth. In other words, scientific knowledge must be new, and the entities that which are critically embedded in science must have deeper analysis. They must have deeper entities, and so when inductivists suggested that no, science begins with observations, remains at the level of observations, um, and ends with observations. Rationalists suggested, or hypothesis suggested that no, science begins only when you go beyond observations. That seeing is believing was questioned by rationalists or hypothesists. For example, this entire place is full of proton and electron, but we cannot see that. It's not visible to a naked eye. Does it imply that they are not real entities? They do not exist? That's why rationalists suggested that no, they are uh, real entities. We cannot reduce ourselves to seeing is believing. We कहाँ से शुरू करें? रिकॉर्डिंग हुआ है, मैं जो बोलूं? That's why when I said the 20th century started with supremacy of science over non-sciences in the positivistic construal of science, that that science is distinct from all areas of human activity or creativity because it possesses a method unique to it. When you look at that, that the demarcation problem assumes greater significance in the positivistic construal of science. I mean, the demarcation between science and non-science, that there is a single method common to all sciences irrespective of their subject matter, that is methodological monism. Then what is that single method? That the method of science is the method of induction, that the hallmark of scientific knowledge lies in the fact that all scientific statements must be systematically verifiable. There must be a dichotomy between fact and value. If I say this is a table, this is a fact. If I say this table looks beautiful, then I add value to it. In other words, facts do not have any value content, whereas values do not have any factual content. Facts are value neutral in the positivistic construal of science. Okay. Okay. Then positivists also argued that observation leads to theory, but the converse is not. In other words, theories are observation dependent, whereas observations are theory independent. Like this, we are going to discuss positivism, then we'll discuss the methods propounded by Karl Popper, then we'll discuss Thomas Kuhn, then Paul Feyerabend. I mean, the demarcation, autonomy and cognitive authority of science will be first discussed, and then the challenges to such demarcation problem, autonomy and cognitive authority of science will also be discussed. I mean, they must be challenged, right? That's how social construction of technological systems. I mean, then we'll also discuss how there are inequalities in science in terms of rewards and recognitions through Matthew effect in science. We'll discuss. We'll also discuss social setting of technology through the works of Donald McKenzie and U.D. Walkman. Then we'll also discuss the transformation problem, the democratization problem in science, if you look at the works of Steve Fuller and so on. And then we'll end with science policies in India, starting from the Scientific Policy Resolution of 1958. In fact, India was the first country to formulate its science policy in 1958. And the name of the policy was the Scientific Policy Resolution, and under the leadership of Nehru, Bhabha, and the Tatas. The alliance between the scientific elite, the political elite, and the industrial elite resulted in the formulation of the Scientific Policy Resolution of 1958. Then we made a shift in our attention from science to technology. In 1983, when we formulated the technology policy statement, then the government of India wanted to integrate science and technology through the science and technology policy of 2003. And when the world of patenting became important to assess our scientific achievements, to make us more autonomous, I mean, to give us more autonomy, we try to incorporate the aspect of innovation in science and technology policies. In 2013, the government of India came up with the science, technology, and innovation policy. And in 2019-20, the government of India again came up with the new science, technology, and innovation policy. Okay, we'll end with this, and obviously our team is there to address your questions. The questions that we have received, that were the goals of science lowered to make the theories intelligible as the universe was in principle intelligible. You see, what are the goals of science? The goal of science is the extension of certified knowledge. Okay, I may believe in something, you may believe in something, but that belief cannot be at the level of belief. That belief must be translated into a form of knowledge. If that is not possible, then it doesn't contribute to the goal of science. Okay, that's why the goal of science is the extension of certified knowledge. The ethos of science refers to the effectively complex of values and norms held to be binding on the man of science. And these norms are expressed in the form of prescriptions, I mean prescriptions which are bound by law. Okay, legally bound prescriptions, rules, regulations. I said that's why these norms are expressed in terms of prescriptions, proscriptions, preferences, and permissions. Okay. And the theory that you are trying to develop, and a theory refers to a set of interrelated propositions or ideas intended to explain facts or events. There must be realism of the assumptions made. There must be a theory must be able to provide explanation, and there must be predictive power of the theory. Okay. Okay, I mean, when you look at these goals of science, please don't think that the goals of science do not tend to look at okay, and do not tend to look at the theories as such, but the goal of science also is to advance the hitherto existing theory of science, right? Okay. Next question. Can you provide study materials? Yes, it is there already. If you want, we can repost them. Okay. Did you watch Oppenheimer? If yes, how well do you think the film portrays ethical dimensions of atomic science? You see, that's why I said philosophy, when you tend to divide into two parts, one is natural philosophy and moral philosophy. Science must be ethically, I mean, ethics must be critically embedded in science, otherwise, or technology. Otherwise, it will be difficult for. See, please don't blame an individual or an institution. It is the nature of science which must be re-examined. Okay. When I said that India was the first country to formulate its science policy, as a consequence of which we have been successful in building scientific institutions. Perhaps we have not been able to succeed. We have not been successful in building scientific temper in the country. In this sense, the ethics must be critically embedded in the design and control of a technology. When I said design and control of a specific technology, because design and control form the basis or the grounds to examine the neutrality of a specific technology. That's why ethics is extremely important. Yes, I have watched Oppenheimer. It's a fantastic it's a top-notch reflection of the ways in which ethics must be critically embedded in science. If ethics is not covered in the purview of science, then what happens? We all know from the Manhattan Project. And so many people of the working community do believe that introduction of new technologies may threaten their livelihood, and some technologies are the reason for easy lifestyle. So I want to know the path in which the people of society can explore latest inventions and will not live in a fear of technological uprising, which takes away their jobs. Can technology ever beat nature? Is India doing something towards quantum computing? We must develop which will be much better as compared to that of the West. Socio-cultural economic conditions when we try to come up with newer and finer technologies. No doubt about it. It's important, right? But at the same time, we tend to make sense of whether we are trying to control technology or technology is trying to control us. If technology is trying to control us, perhaps we have to relook at things. We have to re-examine things. We must be able to control technology. We must create that kind of a workforce which will have that compatibility with technology, or else we must redesign our technology to suit the masses. Okay. Obviously, there will be fear. I mean, if people will lose jobs, people will lose their livelihood. People will definitely raise voices against that kind of a technology. But at the same time, we must devise technology to in such a manner that must have some kind of compatibility with the larger masses. Okay, because after all, we are designing technology for whom? That must be addressed. Okay, and a question which is coming from Swagata Khan. How do you think technocracy will reformulate the power structure in democracy? And how Saurav Biswas is posing this question, how Industry 4 changed the reality? Obviously, see, I always say our reality, our real world phenomena are not static. Our real world phenomena are pretty dynamic. When we tend to witness changes in real world phenomena, we tend to arrive at new concepts. That's why concepts are shortened descriptions of reality or a part of reality. And in this kind of a technocratic world, wherever you will find technology, which is, whenever you will find technology which has been uncritically incorporated in our economy, culture, and polity, then you will find that it creates some kind of hierarchy. It has created some kind of power relations. Okay. And Industry 4 cannot alter this kind of power relations. Okay. The only thing, what I feel, the questions of political economy must be raised afresh. We must understand the relationship between nature and human beings mediated by technology. If technology remains isolated or human beings remain isolated, or nature gets isolated, then there will be a major problem. Even Industry 4 cannot solve this. Okay, we must understand the interaction between nature and human beings, which is mediated by technology. That's why I said from the very beginning that technology is the medium through which human beings have been interacting with nature. When I say nature, it includes both natural as well as social phenomena. Thereby, I tend to widen or broaden the scope and ambit of nature. See this kind of power structure that we tend to deal with. Even we have witnessed structure, power relations, even in pre-industrial revolution phase, which is, I mean, industrial revolution is actually considered a marker of modernity, marker of critical thinking, rationality, reasoning capacity, decline of the influence of religion on our social and public life. It has created an atmosphere where technology is worshipped more than any other social, economic, political phenomenon. And technology has been celebrated. But if that technology fails to interact with our social, economic, cultural, political formation, then it leads to some kind of technocratic development where a large chunk of the population will be missed out from enjoying the fruits of development. Is there any other question? और कितना है जो ये और दो होगा और एक होगा और दो है. I'm sure you all will enjoy this course. If you have any other question, you can write to us. You can post those questions on the portal. I'll answer. Our team will answer those questions. We'll have 2 more live sessions for this course. You keep on generating your questions. I'm sure the more questions, large portion will be. Yeah, obviously, if technology, Swagata Khan is posing this question, why do you think a large portion will be missed out? Precisely because of the fact if technology fails to interact with our economic, culture, and polity. If technology doesn't fail to interact with our economic, culture, and polity, then large portion of the population will not be missed out. But if technology fails to interact with our economic, culture, and polity, let me give you an example. The way the public roads in India are constructed, designed, I think it is essentially anti-pedestrian. We'll discuss these things in the lectures to follow. I'll discuss also the construction of the New York Bridge. I mean, when Robert Moses was given the charge to design the New York Bridge in the 1960s, 70s or so, he designed the bridge of 9 feet height, and at that time, public buses were of 12 feet height. As a consequence of which, public buses could not enter the New York Bridge. Public buses were used by the blacks and the poor, and Robert Moses didn't want the blacks and the poor to enter the New York Bridge. He had obviously racial prejudice and class bias while designing the New York Bridge. That's why I said design and control become the two grounds to examine the neutrality of a specific technology. In this sense, I'm telling you that it is the design and control of a specific technology where you may find that no, a large chunk of the population may be missed out. But if you can design it properly, if you can control it properly, then large chunk of the population can also benefit. See, technology need not be exclusionary, right? Technology can also be made very inclusive. It is the public policy, it is the political economy that will make technology inclusive or exclusive. in this sense. Okay, I agree. Indian streets are anti-pedestrian. Okay, okay. Thank you very much. I'm sure in the coming 2 live sessions we will also raise you people will also raise questions. This is also a learning experience for me that while addressing questions, I also tend to provide more clarity to the lectures that I delivered maybe 6 years back, 6 years ago. And that's how we keep on developing our lectures, keep on developing our thought process.